We have to get this out now. They're gonna bury
When
it.
the board tilts, we didn't hear the
But look
first
at this
knock
data.
so
We
much
have to
as
get
feel
this
it.
out now. They're
The
gonna
shiver
bury
through
it.
drywall, the soft
But look at this
percussion of a
data.
shoe that wasn't trying to scare us, only remind us whose floor this was. Rina slid a glance toward the door, then back to the screen where the clinic story was already racking up views faster than our analytics could count. The mirrored servers held, Dawn was alive and multiplying. A comment floated into the moderation queue from a town I'd never heard of, *we stored measles doses in a lunch cooler. Thought it was just us, *another, *check, Quara Health Depot. The receipt number ends in 0147, same as the one you posted, *evidence is quiet until it has company. Then it becomes a choir. The knock came again, followed by a polite voice through the wood, Ms. Adebayo. 5 minutes, please. Rina's last name, the careful tone of someone who carries papers that make other people sit down. She didn't move to open. Lawyers first, she murmured, and dialed a number from memory. Voicemail. She tried a second. A third. All went to air. It felt like someone had pressed a thumb against the artery of the city, everything still present, just less oxygen. We're not hiding, I said. We're not running either, she answered, and reached for the doorknob. 2 men waited in the hall, suits that were good at not wrinkling. The older one had that benevolent principal smile, the kind you get when discipline and charm live in the same drawer. He introduced himself as Senior State Counsel Okoye, placed a leather folder on our conference table, and admired our map of evidence without seeming to read it. You've published, he said pleasantly. We have, Rina replied. And you intend to continue? We intend to verify and inform, she said. That's our job. He nodded like she'd passed a test. Then here are our jobs. He opened the folder, a request for preservation, save all records. A notice of inquiry, appear at a hearing next week. And a letter with no letterhead at all, just a single paragraph beginning in the public interest and ending with a request that we temporarily suspend publication while independent authorities reviewed the material for sensitive matters of national stability. National stability, I repeated, because saying it out loud makes it sound like what it is. Okoye's smile didn't change. When nurses panic, people get hurt. We prefer prevention to panic. Rina considered him the way you regard a mirror in bad lighting, cautious, unwilling to trust the version of yourself it offers. We'll preserve everything, she said. We'll attend your hearing. But the stories continue. Something small faded in his eyes. Not anger. Not surprise. Resignation. He closed the folder. Then, he said, you should know your hosting provider received a court order 2 hours ago. A narrow one, but creative. Expect downtime. Also, someone very loud will accuse you of faking the invoices. Who? I asked. Tune in at 6, he said lightly. And, he hesitated, the first honest pause in the room. Whoever taught you to mirror your data across libraries and youth clubs, taught you well. Keep doing that. He tapped the chess card I'd left half hidden under a notebook, the pawn on e4. Some of us still play by the rules of the board, he added, and left before I could decide whether that was a warning or a promise. The door clicked. The room inhaled. Rina didn't look at me, she looked at the ceiling. We're past polite, she said. We're into choreography. Our site coughed, then steadied. Messages poured in, photos of broken fridges, photocopied receipts with numbers that repeated like a stutter, teenage volunteers annotating PDFs at kitchen tables. The idea wasn't asking permission. It was learning to walk. At 5:59 p.m., the newsroom TV flickered to the largest private network. The anchor had the kind of voice that makes even the weather sound like an assurance. A banner crawled, exclusive, leaked, clinics, story fabricated by activist bloggers. A man in a charcoal suit appeared beside the anchor, introduced as a cybersecurity expert. He held up a printout of our story and pointed to a metadata field circled in red. Amateurs, he said gently. They reused invoice templates. Look, same RGB profile. It means they forged multiple documents from one scan. I almost laughed. Only someone who'd never filed a Freedom of Information request would think a district's printer didn't leave fingerprints on everything it touched. Rina didn't laugh. She rewound, paused on the expert's face, and took a photo. You know him? I asked. No, she said. But someone will. The burner phone without a battery couldn't help. The other phone, a line Dami had once used to text only chess moves, stayed quiet. So I did what he would, I reached out, not up. I posted a thread, explained the RGB claim, linked to printer logs we'd obtained, invited anyone with original receipts to upload to the Dawn Mirror /clinics receipts originals. I added a simple line in block letters, check your town, our staging server hiccuped again. We lost the comments module for 10 minutes. For 5 after that, upload stalled. Then, like a cough clearing, everything resumed. The graph spiked. It wasn't virality, it was verification. At 7:12 p.m., the elevator across from the war room opened and didn't close. A shadow lingered and then a figure stepped out, a woman with a canvas tote and the tired posture of someone who spends her days standing and lifting the sort of boxes that bruise. I recognized her from a photo sent that morning, Nurse Saad, the one who'd been chilling polio vials in ice buckets. I came, she said simply, as if we'd invited her for tea. If they say it's fake, I thought you should have the original. She set a blue folder on the table, the purchase order for the vaccine refrigerator, the delivery confirmation stamped with a date when the clinic had been closed for fumigation, a text from a driver who never came, a photo of a storeroom with a mark on the wall where a fridge should have been. She extracted a small thermal printer receipt, edges frilled by heat. When the ice melts, the labels slip, she said. We learn to tape them. Rina scanned the papers, then did something I didn't expect. She lifted her phone and called the number on Okoye's card. Counsel, she said when he answered, you wanted prevention? Help us verify stock at City Depot tonight. With media present. We won't publish names. We just need a van and a key. Silence on the line. Then, that's not how these things, it is now, she said, and hung up before he could say work. I stared at her. You trust him? I trust incentives, she said. If he stalls, he owns the consequences. If he moves, people get cold storage. Either way, we move the night. The night was not metaphorical anymore. It was a plan, if the CMS died, post to the mirrors. If the power went out, hand-deliver drives. If a story stalled, switch diagonals, don't push, flank. It was in Dami's 6 points, hidden between lines, never wait for heroes because the board favors whoever chooses a new angle. By 9 p.m., we had a convoy we never planned, Nurse Saad in our back seat, our photojournalist in the front with 2 cameras that didn't care if Wi-Fi existed, and behind us, a sedan I recognized, the benevolent principal counsel, alone. No sirens. No drama. He signed us into the City Depot with the weary authority of someone who had already argued with 3 superiors and would argue with 2 more in the morning. Inside, the air was a clean, aching cold. The power meters glowed steady green. A manager in a high-visibility vest, clearly woken from home, tried to insist we file a request Monday. Rina introduced him to the nurse who'd been improvising with a lunch cooler. Bureaucracy lost to biography. We checked the serials. We followed paper to shelves, shelves to boxes, boxes to refrigerators that hummed honest. The refrigerator slated for Sada's clinic showed as delivered and powered on, in this depot. Not at her clinic. The manager's protest died when he saw the scan code history. It shouldn't be here, he muttered. It says transfer hold. Hold by who? Counsel Okoye asked. The manager swallowed. Facilities. Whose facilities? Rina asked. He didn't answer, because he didn't have to. The database did, a third-party contractor with a name we already knew from Dami's folders, one of the shells that duplicated initials like mirrors. The roads vendor that delivered gravel to nowhere also held cold storage in limbo. The board wasn't a board. It was a web. I took photos, audio notes, the manager's reluctant explanation. We didn't accuse, we documented. On our way out, the counsel touched the edge of the refrigerator like a priest palming a pew. "Publish this carefully," he said, more to himself than to us. Outside the depot gates, the two black cars were back, idling apart like magnets that refused to meet. I recognized one driver, the nameless guard from the municipal archives, the man whose face had flickered at the chess card. He stepped forward just enough for the sodium light to find his mouth. "You should go home by different routes," he said to me, not a threat, a direction. "And you should tell your editor to stop using the same coffee place every morning. Patterns get memorized." "How do you know her patterns?" I asked before I could stop myself. He almost smiled. "The same way she knows mine," he said, and retreated. We split. Rina took the nurse in one car, I took our photographer in the other. We killed our phones twice and revived them like spies do in films, except our theater was a city that knew how to watch. When I reached my apartment, the hallway light was dead. Inside, it was as I'd left it, until it wasn't. The bathroom tiles were slightly skewed, one corner of the third tile less dusty than the rest. The night I'd taped under there was gone. On my kitchen table sat a small, square envelope sealed with transparent tape. No return address. Inside, a chess postcard, same set, same board, a new position. A bishop on c4, and 4 words in block letters, "The diagonal is open." I checked the bathroom again, my heart loud enough to echo. No other disturbance. Whoever took the drive left the apartment neater than I keep it. I sat with the postcard under the lamp and realized my hands weren't shaking. Fear had burned off into something colder, cleaner. Anger, yes, but threaded with resolve, the kind that doesn't tweet. My phone vibrated. A number with no name. I answered. "Next move is yours," a voice said. Filtered, flattened. "They'll hit the mirrors at dawn. You have until then to see backups. Use the school's network. Kids are faster than lawyers." "Who is this?" I asked. A pause that wasn't empty, just full of things I wasn't owed. "The bishop doesn't introduce itself," the voice said, and clicked off. I sat there with the bishop in my hand and the empty space under my tiles and understood two things at once: I'd been robbed, and I'd been helped. The drive was gone, yes, but whoever took it had left a map, not a hole. The diagonal was open. We could jump files through classrooms and after-school clubs tonight, turning teachers' laptops into lifeboats. We could turn the board sideways. I texted Rina, "Tile missing. Bishop on c4. Seed schools." Her reply arrived almost instantly, "Already moving. Check your email, subject line, lunch cooler. Also, don't come by the cafe tomorrow." I smiled despite myself. Then I opened my inbox. One new message from an address that looked like a sneeze, a set of schedules for the committee Rina had mentioned, the editors, the lawyers, the people who hold lines. Next to each name, randomized meet locations, churches, markets, the brass section of a university band rehearsal. It was choreography again, but finer, sharper. It was also proof that someone besides us had access to the committee's calendar. At the bottom, a final line in Dami's plain, stubborn style: "If they copy your dance, change the music." I stood, pulled my backpack from the chair, and began to pack: 2 clean drives, a list of public school computer labs, a spare battery, the chess card with the pawn. The board had tilted. The rules were shifting. But the pieces, the people, were learning. He didn't make it. But as my cursor blinked over a new post titled "Transfer Hold," with photos from the depot and receipts that had never seen daylight, I saw what he meant by living through an idea. You don't survive by being the loudest piece. You survive by making your move create a dozen others. I hit save, not publish, just long enough to breathe, to listen for steps in the hall, to decide which school network to knock on first. Outside, a siren wailed and fell quiet. The city rolled its shoulders, like a fighter between rounds. Next move is ours, I told the empty room. And somewhere, as if the board heard, a classroom router blinked awake. To be concluded in episode 3.